I'm going to go through some stuff on the calculator, and I'm gonna do this review sheet. Again, this review sheet, it's not required. It's just, extra practice if you want. And if you want, if you want to reach out to me, I'd be more than glad to chat with you. Okay. So this first question, they're looking for the solutions, and the solutions can also be called zeros. And they can also be called roots. So 5, basically I can just divide by 5 and that's gone. So I'm going to do, oops, forgot to turn on my pen. I'm going to do x minus 1 equals 0, which would give me x equals 1, because the opposite of subtracting is adding, and x plus 3 equals 0, which is going to give me x equals negative 3. So I am looking for that choice, which is choice 1. Okay. Keep in mind that when it's a quadratic, it's going to have 2 answers. Sometimes the answers are equal, so it might look like there's only 1 answer, but there's never 3 answers. So like choice 4 is just silly. Okay, so now what are the following, which of the following? All right, so now you could just take these choices and you could do substitution to see which ones work. I'm going to factor. So I have x minus 8 and x plus 2 equals 0. So I get x equals 8 and x equals negative 2. 8 and negative 2, so choice 4. I just want to show you on the calculator how that can also be checked. But of course, I have to remember what it says. X squared minus 6x minus 16. X squared minus 6x minus 16. X squared minus 6x minus 16. So one thing I can do is I can look at the graph, and these points right here are called the zeros. They're on the x-intercepts. You can also look on the table, and you'll see that at 8, when x is 8, y is 0, so that's one of the solutions. And when x is negative 2, y is 0, that's another solution. So you can always check these on your calculator. And we're actually going to talk a lot about graphing in the next week or so. All right, so for this one, I'm going to pull out a GCF of 4x, and that gives me 2x minus 1 equals 0. So I get x equals 0, and that's something to remember, that when the constant term is missing, one of the answers is always 0. Okay, and then if I was to set this equal to 0, I'm going to get 1/2. And again, you can use substitution. You can use the graphing calculator to check these. All right, next page. So again, I'm going to factor. And see, they called it the zeros this time. I like factoring. So I probably said this like 5 or 6 times, but if I can factor, that's what I'm going to do. It's not the only way, and it doesn't always work because you can't always factor. So that gives you choice 2. Choice 2. All right, the product of 2 consecutive integers. So n would equal the smallest or the first. And since they're consecutive, the next one would be 1 greater. So I'm saying n plus 1 is the next. All right, now, again, this is multiple choice, so you don't really have to show work. I'm showing you work, but don't just guess. It is totally not and never will be called multiple guess. All right, the product of 2 consecutive integers. So product means multiply, so n times n plus 1 is 24 more than, so I do is always an equal sign, 24 more than 6 times the smallest. So 6n plus 24. Now, the reason I put the 24 on that side is because the other side is 24 more than. So you're trying to make them equal. When something is 24 more than the other, you have 2 choices. You can take 24 away or you can give 24, but it's all about balance. So now that's not there. So that means I might have to do a little more work. So n squared plus n equals 6n plus 24, still not there. But if I subtract 6n, I'm going to get negative 5n. So it's definitely choice 3. Definitely choice 3. Okay. Which of the following quadratics has the same zeros as? Wow, this one is a lot of work. Sometimes multiple choice has very little work. Sometimes multiple choice has a lot of work. This one factors into x minus 10 and x plus 3. So I'm going to get x equals 10 and x equals negative 3. X equals 10 and x equals negative 3. Okay, this one would not give me the same because this would be x plus 10 and x minus 3. So it would have the same numbers but opposite signs. I'm aiming here. I just have a feeling that if I divide everything by 5, I might get that same thing. So let me divide by 5. Looky. So it's got to be this one. Because if you multiply everything by 5, it will have the same zeros. It's not going to look the same on the graph, but it will have the same intercepts. That's actually called a dilation. You remember dilations from 8th grade? I remember 8th grade. All right, so now this one, I'm going to put it in standard form. So I have 2x squared minusing 11 gives me plus 7x, adding 2 gives me minus 15 equals 0. I'm going to do a little quad formula just because I haven't yet. So A is equal to 2, B is equal to 7, C is equal to negative 5. Hold on one second. Hi guys, I'm back. I think I said negative 5 instead of negative 15, but that's what happens sometimes. I'm kind of in the way of my own thing. Okay. I don't know why that keeps getting dark, but it does. Okay. I wonder if all right. So now, x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac, that's a 15, all over 2a. Okay, so I use my calculator to always calculate my discriminant. So that gives me negative 7 plus or minus the square root of, and I type it in with parentheses and all. So that gives me 169 over 4. 169, square root of 169. Sound familiar? Yeah, gonna get rational answers. I like when I get rational answers. And you can totally use your calculator to help you with this. X is equal to negative 7 plus 13 over 4. And x is equal to negative 7 minus 13 over 4. So when I calculate these, I get x equals 1.5 or 3 over 2, and x equals negative 5. Again, you can type it into your calculator, and you can see those on your screen. You'll see the roots in either the table or the graph. Sorry. Okay, so I have 3 cousins whose ages are consecutive integers. So for the 3 cousins, I'm going to do n for the youngest. I'm going to do n plus 1 for the middle. And I'm going to do n plus 2 for the oldest. Sometimes the let statements are in the question, but I don't see it anywhere. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so the product of the 2 older cousins. So product means multiply. So n plus 1 times n plus 2. And you got to put those in parentheses because those are like quantities. Okay. The product of the older 2 is 12 less. So equals 6 times the sum of the younger 2. So n plus 1, sum means to add, and then 12 less is minus 12. So that's my equation. It says, explain how your equation models the information. I don't really have room to write that, but I would basically say my equation models the information because product means to multiply. I multiplied the 2 oldest. And I set it equal to 6 times the sum. Sum means to add. And then since it said 12 less, I subtracted 12. Okay, find the ages of the cousins algebraically. So I have to use algebra, which means basically equations. So I'm going to multiply my binomials. I'm going to add that to get 2n plus 1 so that I would get 12n plus 6 minus 12. So that will give me n squared. I'm going to subtract that, so that gives me negative 9. That's a negative 6 when I add the 6 and the negative 12. So I add it and I get plus 8 equals 0. That's factorable. So that gives me n minus 8 and n minus 1. Looks like I'm going to get 2 viable answers. So n is going to equal 8 and n is going to equal 1. So there's 2 choices for the cousins' ages. So the cousins are 1, 2, and 3, little tiny babies, or the cousins are 8, 9, and 10. I don't know what I want to say about 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. I don't know. All right, so that's that one. Okay, so a rectangle. I draw pictures instead of writing let statements, which is fine. You could do it either way. I'm going to let W equal the width. A rectangle has a length that is 9 feet less than 4 times the width. So 4 times is 4W, and it's 9 less, so minus 9. Area is length times width, so W times 4W minus 9, and that's equal to 90. Okay, so 4W squared minus 9W minus 90 equals 0. Let me think. I'm going to do splitting. I haven't done splitting yet, so I'm going to do splitting. So 4 times 90 gives me 360. Factors of 360. I'm going to use the calculator. Remember this from a while ago. It's if you go to, gotta move me. Bye. I went on a little trip. All right, I have to amuse myself, guys. 360 divided by x, and then you go to the table. You can find factors of 360 because, like, you know, sometimes they're not easy to do in your head. 15 and 24 are good because that's going to give me a 9. Okay, so back to what I was doing. So that gives me, let me make this bigger so I can write. Okay, so that gives me 4W squared minus 24W plus 15W minus 90 equals 0. Pull out the 4W, that gives me W minus 6. Pull out the 15, that gives you W minus 6. So that gives me 4W plus 15 and W minus 6. Just because I'm running out of space, I'm not going to solve the 4W plus 15 because I know that's going to end up being a negative number. I'm going to use the W minus 6, which would give me the width is 6. So that makes my lovely rectangle 6 for the width. Got to use the space here. And then 4 times 6 is 36 minus 9 is 25. No, it's 15. Silly me. Let me do that again. 4 times 6 is 24. 24 minus 9 is 15. 15, that checks. Check. Okay. All right, a rectangular garden originally measured 5 feet by 10 feet. So that means that this is an area of 50 feet squared. A path was created around the garden. Okay, so like picture, almost like it's almost like a picture frame where you have like an equal border all the way around, or like margins on a paper. So the margins on the paper, you know, it's equal on both sides, equal on the top and equal on the bottom. Express the length and the width of the larger rectangle in terms of x. Okay, so the tricky part here is remembering that there's an x on the left and an x on the right, which makes the entire length 2 x's, the x from here and the x from here, plus the 10. So 2x plus 10. And then the same thing going up and down. There's the x on the top, the x on the bottom, and the 5. So that gives me 2 x's plus 5. And that's an expression going to multiply, so 4x squared, because 2x times 2x is 4x squared. That gives me 20x, and these guys here give me 10x, so plus 30x. Nope, don't forget your middles. Middles. Oh, plus 50. Okay. The area of the path that rings the garden is 54 square feet. So basically they're saying that just the outside part, like just the frame part is that. So basically it's like a cutout. So I'm going to subtract this 50 square feet that I calculated from the entire thing. This is the entire rectangle. So sort of like large minus small equals the outside or the edge or the frame. Okay. So 4x squared plus 30x, and I'm subtracting this 50 from this 50, so it's gone. And that's going to equal 54. Okay, so I get 4x squared plus 30x minus 54 equals 0. Now, just to make it a little easier to do, I'm going to divide by 2. So 2x squared plus 15x minus 27 equals 0. Okay. 2 times split. I'm going to split. I'm splitting. Okay. All right. So 2x squared, 54. Factors of 54. 54. 1 and 54, 2 and 27, 3 and 18. 3 and 18 plus 18x minus 3x minus 27 equals 0. I hope you guys are doing good. I sound so pathetic, but I miss going to school so much. Oh, I miss seeing you guys. I mean, really. Sometimes you're, immature and annoying, but really, I miss that. I just want somebody to ask me to go to the bathroom just once. I miss it. All right, back to math. Okay, so I get 2x minus 3 and x plus 9. The 2x minus 3 gives me x equals 1.5 or 1.5 feet. And the other one gives me a negative number, so I'm going to let it go. Can't have a negative for length. All right, so this is the extra review sheet. I hope you did it. If you did, great. If you didn't, you're not listening to this video anyway, so that's the way it goes. Good luck on your test, and please, please reach out. Reach out. I'm here. I'm in this house. It's me, my husband. Some of you have met him. My son, Maddie, he turned 21 right before this whole pandemic, so he's not very thrilled right now. And my son, Dan, who's 25. Plus, I have my grandson, Tommy, who most of you know. He's 18 months old, so he's living here because his mom and dad are first responders. His dad's a police officer, and his mom is a paramedic for the fire department. So it's us 5, and we're having a great time together, but I certainly miss seeing you. Take care.